This is Take 5 with Bentley, Nevada. In the studio with me today is Carlos Gomez. And Carlos, I had the privilege and opportunity of talking to actually one of your employees, Jerry Pritchard, over the course of about 2 hours. We recorded quite a few episodes. And what I did is I've divided all the questions I've got regarding machinery health up into various people that I thought would be best suited to answer some of those questions. And I think with you, Carlos, a very important place to start is for you to introduce yourself, talk about what your role is, and maybe some of the history of prior roles that made you such a good fit for what you're doing right now.
Absolutely, Stephen. It's great that you got the privilege of talking to Mr. Jerry Pritchard. He's a wealth of knowledge, so I'm glad. I'm sure that dialogue went very well. So Carlos Gomez, currently Vice President leading the what we call the Strategic Augury Alliance, which is really a software alliance as part of how we work together between our overall Baker Hughes and Bentley Nevada organizations with Augury and the machine health capability that they have really done a masterful job of, perfecting for a lot of the space they play in, right? So very focused on their side on more of a CPG, food and beverage world. Well, we're taking the mantle on everything related to oil and gas, energy, chemicals, etc. From a background perspective, Steve, I started my career actually in strategy and mergers and acquisitions, originally in our, what we called our G Capital division, but eventually that transformed into the industrial side, right? Really focused on oil and gas. And eventually, and over time, some of that background, dripped into working with our turbo machinery business based out of Florence, Italy, Novo Pignone for the ones that know it. And what came to be needing true outcome-based solutions for when, as Baker, we would go to market and work on those complex, engineering, procurement, construction bids, right, and deals where sometimes we'd even be an equity stakeholder. And at the end of the day, that very complex project would need a guaranteed outcome. It could be number of barrels per day on a take or pay toll gate system. It could be associated with a availability guarantee, but we're talking about at a full blown platform level, right? Or an LNG installation as well, for instance. And between, trying to sew that needle through that thread, it became extremely clear that beyond the technology, right? The OEM gas turbine, if you will, beyond the service model, right? So long-term service agreements, right? Promising that guarantee for that piece of equipment. It would be, what about the platform? What about orchestrating the combination of how do we make sure that between not only the 1% of those critical assets that we're making sure are performing at the best that they can, how are we stitching together every other piece of balance of plant and general purpose equipment that orchestrate together so that 98% availability is happening at the platform, at the plant level. And that kind of ties how I believe that I got into this gig and, maybe putting together that turbo machinery knowledge with Bentley Nevada, both on the services as well as the technology side.
Right. So what I heard you saying, Carlos, is this was the equivalent of a home warranty, not a refrigerator warranty. And
that's exactly right. That's a good way to put it.
So Carlos, you had a lot of experience with not just outcome-based offerings, but outcome-based offerings that were pretty holistic. They covered not just the appliance, but everything in the house. And so the role you're in now reflects that. This offering, this machine health offering, is an outcome-based offering. It's a subscription model as opposed to a conventional model of buy all the infrastructure and call us when you need help, but otherwise you're on your own. In terms of the need in the marketplace, if you had to say, I don't think this was just concocted in a conference room by Bentley Nevada. This was very much born out of listening to what customers were asking for. And so what would you say was the fundamental kind of market need that Bentley Nevada is responding to here?
That's a great way to put it. And maybe connecting the dots between that home warranty versus refrigerator, kind of warranty service. let's start from maybe the beginning here, right? So we always wanted to make sure we were addressing the problem that was at the time, making sure that no matter what, the protection system for a critical asset and the condition monitoring associated with that critical asset were, basically drawn to perfection, right? I think that if we think about the way that we approach the, let's say, the any operation and those critical assets, they call it the 1% of what's at an available plant, we've over instrumented them, and we've done a great job making sure that for those few, right, we've done a great job. Now, what we realized and what we knew, but maybe the technology just wasn't there at the time, was the less critical assets, right? The ones that needed just too many assets to be monitoring, too many people to be needing to cover it, not enough time to be able to going after it. Not to mention the amount of alarming, right, if not configured correctly, that you would get from these things. We needed something to be able to help us tie together. Let's make sure that we're not only approaching the 1% of these assets, the critical few, but the non-critical many, if you will, right? Many of those assets that just needed a scalable, outcome-based solution that could scale with quantity, right? And didn't need thousands of humans, right? To be able to do so and provide the outcome and deliver something that could deliver a promise to the customer, the peace of mind that they're looking for, that these machines will not fail. We can have them humming for you in association with the critical ones you already run so well.
Right, right. Where I'd like to go next, Carlos, is to talk a little bit about, the Bentley culture historically has been, thanks, I don't need any help, I'll do it myself. So a lot of organic type development and growth in the business. And in this case, your title talks about that alliance with Augury. So in our next episode, I'd like to talk a little bit about, why did Bentley Nevada decide it was a good idea to go work with somebody rather than do it all ourselves? Sound like a plan?
It sounds like a great plan. Thanks.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's do that. And with that, you've been listening to Take 5 with Bentley Nevada, a Baker Hughes business. We'll see you next time.